I think we left off around page 112, 113. She's got the stone dog, and she's thinking about, what she's done, awakening that creature, sealing the door with a spell that nobody else will be able to break. And let's see here. She passes out and wakes up in the infirmary. Yeah. So let's pick up with 121. So 3 days after her fall, she can barely speak. She's still in the infirmary, still pain in her head and such. And the healer, Philris, shows up. And on page 123, she's kind of examining Lirael. And we're told, top of that page, finally she looked down at Lirael's throat, staring at it for some time, a small bauble of charter magic light floating an inch from Lirael's stiffening jaw. When Philris finally stopped looking, she sent the healer from the ward and sat beside Lirael's bed. Okay, so Lirael's sitting there. She doesn't know what's going on. And Philris says, "So you were Lirael. And the healer tells me you fell down the stairs. But I do not think your throat was damaged by a scream. To be frank, I'm surprised you're still alive. I know of no other Claire your age, few of any age, who could speak such a mark without being consumed by it." Lirael's like, "How can you tell that?" "Experience. I've worked in this infirmary for over 100 years. You are not the first Claire I've seen suffer from the effects of attempting overambitious magic." Okay? They keep talking. And Lirael says to her, "I've done something horrible. I let something out I shouldn't have. All the Claire are in danger." And Philris is like, "I'm not concerned about that. It's you." Bottom of 124. "You're letting your fear come between you and getting better. Now, start from the beginning. Tell me everything." Okay? She says, "Your fear is holding you back from being healed. You're holding on to it. You're not allowing your body to heal." Okay? So, Lirael says, "You won't tell Kirith or the chief or anybody," meaning her boss, Vencel. She says, "If you mean Vencel, no, I won't. I won't tell anybody, particularly since I'm coming to the conclusion I should have looked in on you long ago, Lirael. I had no notion you were more than a child. But tell me." Okay? So Lirael tells her everything that has happened, even about the little dog statuette. So she shows it to her. Okay? The old woman takes the statuette, 126, cups it so only the snout is visible, thrusting between her withered fingers. She looks at it, takes a deep sigh, gives it back. And the stone is warm now. And Lirael's thinking, what's going on here? "I'm sorry, Lirael," middle of 126. "I thank you for telling me the truth and for showing me the dog statuette. It has been a long time coming, so long that I thought I would be lost in the future, too mad to see it true." "What are you getting at?" "I saw your little dog long ago. When the sight still came clearly to me. It was the last vision that came to me whole and unbroken. I saw an old woman peering closely at a small stone dog clasped in her hands. It took me many years to realize the old woman was me." "Did you see me?" "Nope." "I'm afraid is that we shall not meet again. I would have liked to have helped you defeat the creature you have released." She says, "By counsel, if not by deed, but it must be done as soon as you can. I would also like to see your dog sending. I regret I will not. Most of all, I regret that I've not lived enough in the present these last 15 years. Okay? What's the point she's getting to?
She's probably going to die soon.
Okay? What else? Bottom of 127. Every Claire is given the gift to see some portent of her death, though not the death itself. For no human could bear that weight. Almost 20 years ago, I saw myself, your little dog, and in time I realized that this was the vision that foretold my final days. In other words, I saw this event that we just did, and that means what? I've only got a couple days. Lyra, but I need you. I need someone. I can't keep going on my own. You can, you will. Make your dog your companion to be the friend you need. It's a little piece of soapstone. How's she supposed to make it into something she needs? I feel that you will be a maker, not a seer. You must promise me that it will be so. Promise me you will not give in. Promise you will never give up hope. Make your future, Lirael. Okay. So she says, I was never close to Ariel or her mother. Too much a Claire, I suppose. Too much in the future. I'm glad I was not too late to speak to you. Goodbye, my great-great-granddaughter. See, Lirael thought the only relative she had living was her aunt, her mother's sister. We find out later it's her mother's older sister. And now we meet Phyllis, who says, you are my great-great-granddaughter. But notice, I was never close to Ariel, that is Lirael's mother, or her mother. I wasn't close to my own daughter. Why? Apparently that's something with the Claire. Their whole focus, literally, on life is in seeing, focusing on seeing. Relationships they're not so hot at, okay? You know, you're going to see the part later if you haven't come up to it already. Hopefully you have, where Lirael, we get a little passage where it talks about, Lirael's never really thought of sex, even though, other people her age, she's 19, she's never been kissed, et cetera, et cetera. She knows how it happens, but, how do the Claire have families per se? Well, they don't. The Claire women go down to the eating area where the men travelers come in and visit, and they take them up to a room for a good time, and then the men travelers leave, they have the babies, and then the babies are essentially shunted off to be raised by, others and such. Why? Because the sight is what's most important. Little family duties, that's not important. Okay? So, she starts to read, starts to study. She, learns about the Stilken, learns what it is, 132, 133. And she's thinking, okay, so I'm supposed to destroy this thing, but it's made of free magic. I can't do free magic. It's not allowed. How am I going to destroy this thing? And then she keeps reading. Okay. And we're told she's got to create her dog sending. What's the dog sending? Well, what do we know a sending is from previous books? It's intangible, right? I mean, it's not really a corporeal body. It will eventually disappear. It's just like it's made out of smoke. Smoke that's somewhat solidified, okay? Can wield a sword, for example, but it will dissipate. She's got to create one of these for the dog. That is, she's got the little model of a dog. She's going to turn that into something that can aid and abet her, something that can serve her, something that will be like a dog, a faithful follower. She walks into the room, it will always wag its tail. It'll never put up the middle paw, toe, whatever, and say, get out of my life. Dogs are always, So, she starts. 139, she's getting about to reach into the charter when her eye caught sight of the small dog upon the desk. It looked lonely up there. So she gets up, she puts it in her lap as she starts to make the sending. Okay? And we're told she starts, and these marks, these charter marks flow through her. They flow to the edge of this wire-shaped thing she has made. They roar through her mind. Bottom of 140. She had long lost track of where she was up to or which marks were next. In other words, what's happening? If she'd lost track of these marks, and yet the marks are still flowing, it's the charter working through her. She's no longer in control of this. Okay? Top of 141. Lirael realized that not only did she not know which mark she was up to, she didn't even know the marks that were passing through her. That is, she's got charter marks passing through her that she's never seen before. She's never recognized before. Strange unknown marks were pouring out of her into the sending, powerful marks that rocked her body as they left. They keep coming. And then, bottom of 141, Lirael's nostrils caught the terrible, unmistakable reek of free magic. And she knew something had gone terribly, horribly wrong. She tries to stop it, and they just keep coming. The top of the next page. The smell of free magic rose, and a crackling white light formed in the center of the golden glow, so bright that it shone through Lirael's shut eyelids. Next paragraph, towards the bottom. All she knew was that the marks that passed through her now were more ancient, more powerful than anything she had ever seen. Even if the free magic that grew in front of her spared her life, the charter marks would burn her to a husk. Next page, just about opposite the same spot. 143. Swirling brilliance, there is now a globe of utter darkness that occupied the space where the wire dog and the desk had been. Let me back up a bit. Where the free magic and charter marks had fought in their sparking, swirling brilliance, that is, the free magic marks, the charter marks, there's now utter darkness. A tiny pinprick star appeared in the black surface of the globe, and then another and another, till it was no longer dark, but a star-filled as a clear night sky. And then the globe disappears, and there's a dog. And she looks down at her lap, and the statuette in her lap is gone. Somehow, with a power she knows not, the thing that was in her lap has been transformed into this dog in front of her. And we're told, she looks up, the dog's there, scratching its back ear, stops scratching, shakes itself. It goes over to her, and it licks her. A real dog, not some charter-made imitation. When that got no response, it grinned and announced, I am the disreputable dog, or disreputable bitch, if you want to get technical. When are we going for a walk? Okay. So, she now has the disreputable dog. That dog continues from here to the end of the next book. Okay, we're going to see it throughout. There will be moments where the dog disappears. Kind of like first book, Mogget. You know, there are moments when Mogget disappears. Okay? But Mogget usually shows up just when you need him to. So, we're going to skip a bit. Page 148, she says, you're a free magic thing. He says, no, I'm not. I'm definitely not a thing. I'm as much a part of the charter as you are, albeit with special properties. Look at my collar. I'm not a Stilkin, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm as much a part of the charter as you are. Well, what is the charter? Again. Is it good controlled magic? Because somewhere, where was this? See if I can find it. Maybe we'll get to it today. I was doing some rereading, and we're told somewhere in here that the charter is made up of all things. It's either all things or all living things. I'll hopefully find it when we get to it. Okay. So she talks to the dog about the Stilken. Touches its collar, page 151. Lirael touched the collar with just 2 fingers and was momentarily thrown out of the world altogether. All she could see, hear, and feel were charter marks all around, as if she'd somehow fallen into the charter. No leather collar, no dog, no study, just charter. She says, your collar's like a charter stone, a way into the charter. I saw free magic in your making. It has to be there somewhere, doesn't it? The dog says, you needed a friend. I came. You needed a friend. So where did the dog come from? What's the you needed a friend imply?
Somebody watching her.
Somebody, something is watching her, is looking out for her, so to speak. Okay? So you had a need, and what? The charter filled it. Isn't that enough to be going on with? You know my callers of their charter. Whatever else I may be, it would constrain my actions, even if I did mean you any harm. So, my callers of the charter, who knows what I am? But even if I wanted to harm you, that would stop me. Okay? So, notice, he speaks like there's free will involved there, but the charter binds that free will in some way. Okay? So, he tells her you need to get a sword. He tells her what sword she needs to get. She needs to get it from her boss's office. Okay? He tells her how to get it. So they go into the library, and I'm skipping a bunch that I had planned on talking about since we don't have time. And they go and get it. Let's see here. And they go down to take care of the Stilken. I'm trying to get us up to about, I know it's hardly unlikely, 475 today. So, so she learns how. She binds the Stilken, and they grab the book, and she learns how to make charter skins. We'll leave the rest of that. Part 2. Angelstier. Okay, part 1 began. Angelstier. The Old Kingdom. 14th year of the restoration of King Touchstone. Part 2 begins. Angelstier. The Old Kingdom. 18th year of the restoration of King Touchstone. Okay, so in the first part, Lirael celebrated her 14th birthday, right? So now it's in the 14th year. Now it's the 18th year, so she's turning 18. Okay, in the first book, what birthday had Sabriel just celebrated? Her 18th. Just recently, when her father sends the sending. Okay? How old was Sam in the first book? Sameth. Because we're going to be told here he's 17. So he was somewhere between 13 and 14. Okay? I think it's still in part 2 in the same time. His older sister is turning 19, I believe. Okay? So, we pick up chapter 14, that's in this part. Prince Sameth hits a 6, okay, talking about cricket. we're going to skip a bunch. Okay. They're making their way after a cricket match. They're supposed to be heading south. And what happens to the bus?
Kind of gets lost. So it just drives off. The
The driver,
jumps out and runs away.
yeah, the driver's going to jump out after a while. But before the driver jumps out, Sam notices something about the direction they're heading. They're not heading south, they're heading north. They're heading closer to the wall, which means closer you get to the wall, if you're in Angelsteer, here's Angelsteer, here's the Old Kingdom, the wall's right here. The closer you get to the wall, what starts to happen? More magic, technology stops working, things go haywire, okay? So he tells their teacher / coach, Mr. Cochran, we're heading north, okay? When Mr. Cochran says something to the bus driver, the driver stops and jumps out and runs away, okay? So they get out and they're stopped by MPs. And what does Sam realize almost immediately? They're dead. There are dead hands nearby, okay? Why does he realize that? How does he realize that? Who is Samoth? Child of Abhorsen and Touchstone, okay? So, royalty. So, chapter 15, Samoth explains that there are a lot of dead hands nearby. Page 211, he says there's a necromancer back there. That is, there is somebody calling the dead out. And the sergeant says, about 6 weeks ago, a truck crashed, killed a bunch of Sutherlings, ran off the road near here. And what did they do with the bodies? They just buried them right there. They didn't burn them, which would have meant they couldn't be used as hands, etc., etc. Okay. So, I'm going to skip a lot again. (221), chapter 16, Sam goes into death. Why? Well, let me back up. What does he go to death with? What does he take with him?
Sword.
Does he have a sword? Does he have bells? Does he have anything? No, he doesn't. He doesn't have anything to take with him. Is he a proper Abhorsen yet? No, he's not. Okay. What happens to him?
Hedge grabs him.
Hedge, the necromancer, grabs him, tries to bind him with the spell. Using the bell Sereneth. Why doesn't the binding work? Page 230. He's being held by the wrist, which is why he gets these burn marks on his wrist. He's being held by the wrist, and Hedge makes this, incantation of sorts, and rings the bell, and Sam screams, or his scream was nothing more than bubbles of froth barely disturbing the river. It was the pain that brought him back. 232. The scream that cuts through Sereneth, or Sereneth, however you pronounce that, it's a commanding tone. The bell jarred in the necromancer's hand, becoming suddenly still and raucous. That is, his scream is at such a pitch, it cancels out the pitch of the bell. So it keeps the bell from sealing, let's say, the spell. Sam comes back to life, comes back into life. His hands all blistered and such. Meanwhile, what does his friend Nick Sayre do? He goes off, trips over the fence, and is caught by Hedge. Hedge thinks he is Sam. Okay? Says, you're not the prince. Why is that important? What's that telling us Hedge's goal is? He wants Sam. He wants to be able to do whatever it is he's trying to do with the prince, with the royal line. Okay? What was Caragor trying to do with the royal line back in the previous book? Wipe them all out. Okay? So there's something at work against the charter. Because bear in mind, there are 5 things important to the charter, right? I think it's 5. Clare, royal line, Abhorsen, the wall, and the charter stones. Okay? So, Touchstone comes, heals Sam at the hospital. We see the long letter from Nick, 255 and following, in which Nick tells Sam he's going to come visit him in the Old Kingdom. Why? For what purpose? Experiments. He's not concerned about his friend. He's heard about this lightning trap thing, okay? And he wants to figure it out. Why else? Well, before they were attacked, I think this happened before they were attacked. What did Nick say about the Old Kingdom and magic?
He doesn't believe in it. It's all like science.
There has to be a scientific explanation. There has to be a rational explanation for this stuff. Okay? So he's going to come and figure out the rational explanation for why the Old Kingdom is different. Okay? Chapter 19. Like I said, I'm just zipping through to do a lot. Elmir's thoughts on Sam's education and such. What does she, repeatedly tell him? Kingdom must come first. People's morale is very important. Each member of the family, that's bottom of 264. Each member of the family must play a part in maintaining it. What is she talking about? The people's morale. What is Sam's part, according to Elamir? Is it Abhorsen in training? Because that comes later. Which means?
Like making sure people are happy and listening.
Keep going. What is, one of the tasks of Prince William today, or Prince Harry? What do they have to do? PR. They've got to show up. They've got to be there for the ribbon cutting ceremony for the hospital for the poor. They've got to show up for some musical event. He has to show up for the midwinter festival dance, for example. He doesn't want to dance. Okay? What drives Samath? What motivates him? What's he like to do? He's an inventor. He's a tinkerer. Okay? And yet, as I alluded to, what's he being trained for? Abhorsen in training. Abhorsen in waiting. Okay? So, she gives him 267, the package that carries the Book of the Dead. And notice, he can barely even go close to that book. It makes him sick to his stomach. Okay? Bottom of 269. Everyone expected him to succeed Sabriel. He was going to have to study the Book of the Dead. He would have to walk in death again and confront the necromancer, or even worse things. Okay? He gets another note from Nick, pages 272 and following. Okay? Excuse me. That's from Sabriel. And she kind of lays it all out there. I need you. I need your help. It'll be good to have a real Abhorsen in training. You need to read the Book of the Dead. You need to memorize it, etc., etc. Okay? Chapter 20. Lirael's 19th birthday comes. So how many years have gone by? Well, she turned 14 in the previous section, so now it's 5. Why? Because this section began in the 18th year. I think that implies that by now we've rolled over. A little more time has gone by. Okay, so 278, week before her 19th birthday, she gets a promotion. She's now second assistant librarian. Going to skip a bunch again. She's learned how to do 3 different charter skins, so she can take a different form. She can become an owl, she can become an otter, and she can become a bear. Okay? Each form, different purpose. Owl, she can fly and stuff. Otter, squeeze through small surfaces, small things. Bear, take on, larger, dangerous things. So they're exploring. And they go down through the lowest levels of the library, and they find a door made of wood and stone. And she's trying to figure out, should I go through here or should we go back up for dinner and such? And they decide to go back through. Page 301. So she reads the symbols on the door and turns to run away. But the dog trips her. And she tells him, it's a grave door. It's a door to a crypt. She doesn't want to go through this door. There's a bunch of dead bodies in there. Is it? It's got my name on it. Then why would that mean it's a door to a crypt? The dog's kind of like, where's your logic? So you think someone went to all the trouble to make you a crypt 1,000 years ago on the off chance you might turn up one day, walk in, and have a convenient heart attack? No. I think there was a great aunt I'm named after, maybe in one before her. So he says, okay, so logic. If it was a crypt, maybe it's a crypt for a long dead ancestor. She says, but the dog says the second word didn't look like grave or crypt. And Lirael looks more closely. 303. It says Lirael's path. What's the saying that kind of goes with an abortion? Does the walker choose the path, or does the path choose the walker? Lirael's path. The dog. 303. Guess you should go through then. Even if you're not the Lirael whose path it is, you are a Lirael. Which in my book is a pretty good excuse. In other words, you could say, hey, it says Lirael's path. I'm a Lirael. All Liraels must walk this way, So she tells him to shut up. Why? She's thinking about it. She's thinking about the Clare and how they sometimes had visions of far distant futures or possible futures. For the future was apparently like a mini branching stream, splitting, converging, splitting again. Much of the Clare's training was trying to figure out which possible future was the most likely one. Okay? Maybe some long ago Clare had seen her. She opens the door. Page 305. It opens to a vast chamber, space stretching up and out, seemingly endless beyond the pool of light around her, a cavern measureless in the dark. But as she looks around, she notices light. And she's at the bottom of a deep rift that stretched up almost to the very pinnacle of Star Mountain itself. With that sight came recognition, bottom of 305, for she knew only one chasm so narrow and so deep. And she tells the dog, we're in the bottom of the rift, aren't we? The burial place of the Clare. He nods, you knew. And we're told how the Clare bury themselves. She couldn't see them, but she knew the higher reaches, middle of 306, of the rift were pockmarked with small caves, each one holding the mortal remains of a past Clare. Her mother was not there because she didn't die there. So what would they do? When it was about time for them to die, they would get lowered down and go in and just wait for death. It is a crypt. He's, quibbles on meanings of words. Okay? So they're talking about death. She says, I can feel it here. I can feel it all around me, particularly here. 307. The blood mixes a little, says the dog, so there are always Claire who are sensitive to death. That's what you feel. You shouldn't be afraid of it. I'm not really. It's like an ache or an itch. Makes me want to do something. What's the ache or the itch? The feeling that death is near. You don't know any necromancy, do you? That is, come on, you can't call up the dead, can you? Of course not. That's free magic. It's forbidden. Not really. Claire have dabbled in free magic before. Some still do. Who? What can you smell? Magic. Old magic, hidden here in the depths of the... And suddenly, forms began to take shape. Humanoid figures. Okay? They come out towards her. Swords of flame. Middle of 309. Lirael says, I am Lirael, a daughter of the Clare. The guardians raise their swords in salute. Okay. She passes out. She wakes up with the dog licking her face and such. But she notices now, where the guardians had been, there's a path of lights. This must be it. Dog says, you go first. I mean, it doesn't say dog's path, it said Lirael's path. Okay? So they follow the lights. They go to the bridge, walk across the bridge. It opens when Lirael touches it. And now, 316, Lirael felt the tremor and wondered why, till she caught the distinctive corrosive scent of free magic coming from somewhere ahead. Okay. The room hadn't changed. There's still free magic feeling. The dog tells her not to move. Lirael pinched her nose with one hand, trying not to breathe anything in, while her other hand went to the clockwork emergency mouse. Why doesn't she want to breathe anything in? Well, now she sees free magic marks. She doesn't want to breathe any of this in. She could feel charter magic building too. So now there's free magic and charter magic, both in the same room. We're told, top of the next page, 318, working together, winding and twisting about her, weaving some spells she couldn't even begin to identify. That is, it's moving all around her. Now she starts to see patterns of stars, towers, and silver keys in the walls. Okay? There's a table in the middle of the room, 319. On it are three items. A small metal case, about the size of her palm, a set of what look like metal pan pipes. Everybody know what pan pipes look like? Kind of like that. Little reed here, you blow various ones. These are kind of the pipes, you'll see in ancient Greek illustrations and such.
Is that the same as a pan flute?
Yeah, like a pan flute. Okay? So, pan pipes and a book. So, tells her to go get it. She's like, what? The door's open for you, bottom 319. The path lit up for you. The guardians here didn't destroy you. Whatever's on that table was meant for you. That's why it's Lirael's path. So I'm going to sit down or lie down. You wake me up when it's time to go. Okay? So she goes over to the table. Suddenly, whatever magic, let me back up. Let's see here. She notices the table's covered with charter marks. She lets the dog lie. She goes up. She looks at the stuff on the table. Book of Remembrance and Forgetting. Okay? Marks of binding and closing. And what happens? She sends her and she reads this whole thing while just standing there. Bottom of 323. Hours later, or even days, for Lirael had lost all knowledge of time, she turned what seemed to be the last page, closed the book. She drew back the snap but didn't leave the table. Instead, she picks up the pan pipes, 7 small tubes of silver, ranging in size from the length of her little finger to a little shorter than her hand. She holds them up to her lips, but she doesn't blow. She knew that the charter marks that moved in the silver were only a veneer on the free magic that lurked within. So she touches each of the pipes, smallest to largest, whispered their names. How does she know their names? Because they were in the book. Okay. Latter were similar to the charter marks on the pipes were similar to those on the book, all threatening retribution if the box were opened by someone not of true blood. So she opens the box. Case shivers. Hinged in the middle, there's a small mirror. One side of the mirror is like a mirror. Okay, you can look in it. The other side is just darkness. Darkness is somehow hinged to this thing. It doesn't reflect, doesn't show anything. Notice if it were black, just polished black, what would it do? It would shine. This is like a black hole. It just sucks all light from it. Okay? The dark mirror could be used, 325, only in death, and Lirael had no intention of going there, even if the book professed to show her how to come back. No. Death was the province of the Abhorsen, not the Clare. Okay. So, she picks up the pipes, puts them in her pocket. She picks up the book, puts it in her waistcoat, and takes the mirror. Waiting in the dark for a woman named Lirael, waiting for her. And then we go back to Samoth, okay, chapter 23. And he's thinking, I ought to be studying Book of the Dead, but I don't want to. Okay. Sam turns 17, page 337. Okay. He gets another letter from Nick. Skipping a bunch. 344, top of the page. He knows he should be studying the Book of the Dead, but he doesn't. His father returns. His mother returns. There it is. And on page 348, okay, his mother returns and she's injured. Fairly seriously, she's had to go down to the reservoir, the very same reservoir where Caragor killed Touchstone's mother and sisters. She's gone down to the reservoir to heal herself. And so Touchstone, Elamir, and Samoth go down there too because they need to have a talk. And we're told, middle of 348, while the charter contained and described all living things and all possibilities. So it's all living things, rocks and stones and things like that aren't included. But trees, fish, plants, humans obviously are. Contained and described all living things and all possibilities and existed everywhere. It was particularly concentrated in the great stones, charter stones, the wall, bloodline of the royal family, as well as the Abhorsens and the Clare. Now, notice right now you have what? The Abhorsen and the royal line mixed, which would seem to make them especially strong. Okay? So, what do they talk about in the reservoir? I'm going to skip a bit. They talk about what's going on over in the West Country. What they think the necromancer is up to, but they don't know for sure. Okay? Which is why Touchstone and Sabriel have not been around at all. I mean, they're putting out fires everywhere. Okay? They mention Clora the Mask. And what do we find out is happening down south in Ancelsteer? Yeah, the Our Country Party, right, led by a guy named Coralini, who's depicted, and I don't know if he means this or not, but it sounds what? Obviously. Sounds Italian. I don't know if he, meaning Nitz, is implying that this is a Mussolini-like character because he comes across as somewhat fascist, right? And nationalist, because all fascists are really nationalists. I'm not saying nationalism is bad. I'm not saying that if you're a nationalist, it makes you a fascist. But generally, if you're a fascist, you are a nationalist. Okay? Those two, it does work that way. It doesn't necessarily work the other way. What's he want to do? What's he trying to do? Push people up into the Old Kingdom. What people?
Southerns.
The Southerlings, which are refugees. Okay? They're people who don't belong in Ancelstier. Where have the Southerlings come from? They've come from the continent across the sea. Across the Southern Sea, we're told. Okay? Because there's this big battle. There's this big war going on. All right? So, what's the problem with sending these Southerlings, these refugees, into the Old Kingdom?
Bodies.
More bodies. What else? They don't know where they are. I don't mean they don't know where they are like they are, quote unquote, illegal immigrants and they don't have documentation. They've come and they've just dispersed. They don't know where they are, meaning they think they're all dead. And they don't know why. But there's a necromancer who's using the dead. Right? And you get to the end of the chapter, and what do they say? 366. We think they plan to bring all 200,000 Southerling refugees into the Old Kingdom and kill them. Why? Well, that gives you a 200,000 strong dead hand army. What's the problem with the dead hands? Kind of like the Cauldron-born. You can't really kill them. You can stop them. You can slow them down. The stuff about, stumping them into the ground, getting a wooden stake and staking it through them to the ground so that, they're kind of, and you can chop their arms off, but they'll kind of still move on. So, Sabriel and Touchstone are going to go south to talk to Coralini, try and work some magic, so to speak. And we're told just before they're going to go, during this conference they're having with their children, Sabriel says, page 368, talking to Sam and Elamir, you will assist her, that is, Elamir. Elamir is going to be a regent. While they're gone, she will kind of rule in their place. You're going to help her. But most important, you will continue in your studies of the Book of the Dead. Now, just before this little conference happened, what was Samuel getting ready to tell them? Anybody remember? I can't be that person in waiting. I haven't even opened the Book of the Dead. I get close to it, and I get sick. Okay? Now he's told he's got to do this. And how do we know, according to Sabriel, he is meant to be the Abhorsen in training?
The bells were delivered to him.
369. She says, I found these at the house. Not the palace where they are now. The Abhorsen's house. Or rather, the Sendings had them set out. I don't know where they found them or why they got them out now. They're very, very old. So old that I have no record of who bore them first. I would have asked Mogget, but he still sleeps. What are the them? The surcoat. Yeah, you don't have it on there. The one that, like Sabriel wore in the previous book, because Abhorsen has the same coat. Okay, this isn't the same coat that Sabriel obviously now wears. This was one that was worn by a long dead ancestor. Okay, and what else? The bandolier with the bells. Sabriel says, Mogget would not wake, but as I have my own, these are clearly meant for the Abhorsen in waiting. Congratulations, Sam. Notice Huge assumption there, right? Why don't they assume Elamir is meant to be the Abhorsen in waiting? We're never told. We're never told why the assumption is Sam and not Elamir. I mean, Elamir is the oldest child. Or is this some kind of primogeniture thing where it has to be the male eldest child? Well, Sabriel's father, as far as we know, didn't have a male eldest son or didn't have a male son. Therefore, she became, right? We will find out later it doesn't have to go to the next in line child. Sometimes the Abhorsen in waiting goes to a different relative. Sometimes it actually skips generations. Where you might have like a grandfather, it skips the grandfather's immediate heirs and goes to the grandchild. Okay? So, she talks about, you need practice. According to Mogget, my father trained with his aunt, page 370, for a decade. I've often wished I had the same opportunity. I will need your help, Sam. He's like, okay, but I'm not ready. I haven't finished the book. She's like, oh, that's okay, son. You'll be fine. Okay. But if you do come up against some necromancers or dead hands, you have to fight them in life. Don't go into the dead again. Why not? You're not ready. See, in the beginning of the book, he was 13. He thought he was ready. Okay? Went in without any training and such. Bottom of 377. Being the Abhorsen is a weighty responsibility, one that I understand you are wary of shouldering, even when it is shared with me. It is your destiny, Sam. And then she quotes, does the walker choose the path or the path the walker? Notice who's doing the choosing here. It's not Sam. Is it fate? No, it's his mother. His mother's doing the choosing for him. That would be like your mother, Bill, saying, William, you need to choose this major. Some of you might have parents who've done that, You need to pre-med, pre-law, some kind of professional, so that when I'm old and gray, you can take care of me with all your, oodles money. It's kind of like what she's doing. What is his natural aptitude again? Making stuff. Okay? Letter from Nicholas, chapter 26. Okay? Sam's gotten the visa for him. He's talks about the lightning trap. Talks about the place named Edge. Doesn't tell us what a lightning trap is. Okay? So, what does this letter serve? What purpose does it serve for Sam? What's it become?
He knows where he's going.
Keep going. He knows where he's going. Where's that?
Edge.
Okay? What is he going away from?
The original, to the kingdom, or to the castle.
Yeah, he's going away from the palace. He's going away from what? His responsibilities. This is his get out of jail card. Because the palace is essentially, metaphorically, it's jail for him. Because he has to stay here and do what? Train. Read the damn book. Get ready for the play. Get ready for the dance. He doesn't want to do any of that. So, this is his escape. He's going to go do what? Is he going just to go have fun with Nick? No. Why is he going off to find his friend? Where's his friend going to? The very same place that they talked about in the conference. The place where they think 1,000 Sutherlands have gone to and disappeared. That wherever that necromancer is, he's somewhere over in that area. Why? The Claire can't see anything there. Okay? So he's running where, really? Away from trouble? Dead smack into it. with what kind of preparation? None. Okay? So, he makes himself look different with some spells. He leaves. And what happens? Almost immediately.
Jump. Or
He gets stopped by a couple of cops at a roadside inn. They say, you know, you don't look like a traveler. You pay for the most expensive room. Your horse doesn't have a brand. You don't look like a traveler. They attack him because they see his charter mark. They think he's a necromancer, and what does he do? Or at least, what does he think he does? 4:13. Drawing several charter marks in his mind, he let them grow in his throat and roared out a death spell to strike everyone unprotected in the room. Boom! He's just killed 2 of his dad's men. He thinks. But he gets stabbed in the process. Okay, I really hoped we'd get further than that. We're going to pick up with the Observatory of the Clare, and I don't think we'll be able to finish on Wednesday. Hopefully we'll get really, really far. We will have a quiz on Wednesday, and it'll be over the whole book. Okay? Go ahead.